Welcome back to the second segment of Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling with Eric Donovan, and we're going to go over 3 races from this past Sunday, the 23rd. 2 of them on the turf, starting out with a maiden race.
It was race number 4 on Sunday, a special weight for 2-year-old fillies going 1 mile and 1/16th on the turf. We're going to take a look at the number 7 horse in here, Deputy Empress, a first-time starter from the Jimmy Bond barn.
And she's pretty easy to see because the field comes out of the gate except for Deputy Empress. She stands in the gate. And it's sort of hard with getting basically almost a head on as they come out of the chute. How much she got left? It had to be 3 or 4 lengths. What I thought was interesting was how quickly she gets herself into a contending position.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes up on the outside here, and not very quickly, not with a huge burst, but steadily gaining a position here underneath apprentice jockey Sebastian Morales. I thought, considering the trouble that she had at the start, Sebastian Morales did a very good job in here, kind of getting her to settle, getting her in position, trying to save as much ground as he could.
No question about it. He doesn't panic. He doesn't make one of those rushed-up moves here. He's in a bad position through no fault of his own. She's a first-time starter, and she just didn't come out of the gate. Right now, she's a little bit rank, she's a little bit green, and she's never on the inside, but she's about 2 wide or so on the turn, and now she's out in the 3 path in the clear.
Well, what about the pace of this race? It seems like it's a little slow to develop, but the winner does come from a little bit off and not too far in front of where Deputy Empress was.
Yeah, the second quarter was particularly slow. The first quarter was about 24-ish. I think they went 50 and a half here, and the horse who's leading right now is another first-time star from Christophe Clement, who ends up finishing second, beating about a neck in this race. The eventual winner is in the Team Valor colors, sitting in 5th, and that's a horse, America's Dreaming, who was off for a layoff in Saratoga, and a highly touted horse was 2-1. And of course, behind her is Deputy Empress in 6th here. All things considered with Deputy Empress, the amount of work she's had to do, she's still in a contending position, but she doesn't look to me like she's going to make any impact in this race at this point.
No, I mean, if she breaks well, you would think she'd be right up there with the leaders at this point, but still, far behind. Now she shows some greenness here, ducking in a couple times in the stretch underneath Morales, and again right here in the stretch you see her ducking in. So really a green horse that had trouble at the start, trouble in the stretch, all her own doing, and she gets on track late here. She's going to get back on the picture here and not get beat too much. Only gets beat 2 lengths here in this spot at the end.
Right. I mean, there are a lot of points in the race where it looks like, and there she is finishing 4th, that she's not going to do well at all things considered. I still think she would have run well. And the other thing was, in the gallop out, she very quickly galloped right out to the leaders. There's no question in my mind that Deputy Empress, if she had a race under her belt and she got out of the gate, she would have won this race. She's going to go to Florida almost for sure. That's where Jimmy Bond goes, and she's a turf horse. I expect her to be in a maiden race, and I expect a better.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, I'd say she might need another month and a half, 2 months maybe to get over some of the issues that she had in her first start, but I think with some maturity and some more training and stuff like that, I think she'd be a very good bet second time out.
Yeah, I think she can actually run a little bit. It's hard to judge how good the horses in this race are, but I think of all the horses in this race, she's the best one.
I agree. We'll move on to our second race from the second segment, the Ithaca Stakes. It was an overnight stakes for New York breds, and the big favorite here was the 1 Storm and Normandy. Looked like Storm and Normandy was the horse to catch from the inside post, a 3-5 favorite.
Yeah, and he breaks okay here. Not great, but okay. And one of the reasons that he was considered the horse to beat is not only on his best day is he the best horse in the race. The distance, the mile, is a question mark. He was coming off a big win, taking advantage of a bias somewhat at Belmont, but he was also the lone speed here. But of course, it never works out that way. There is Storm and Normandy on the lead, but right in his flank is Big Truck.
Big Truck's right to his outside, and then you give a couple other horses, Golden Roses and South 4th Street, that are 3 and 4 wide at this point, and you're going to see a little bit later on when we show you the head-on of the backstretch, they're actually farther out on the track than 3 or 4 wide. Storm and Normandy, after breaking from that inside post, after about maybe 50, 60 yards, is going to start to drift out a little bit here, and is going to take a Big Truck out to the middle of the track with him, and then he also, those horses, Golden Roses and South 4th Street, who managed to finish 3rd and 4th in this race, are going to be affected. And at this point in the race, I don't know if something was wrong with Storm and Normandy here, if he wasn't feeling right this day, but at this point, it looks like some of these other horses are very, very leery of being close to him at this point.
There's no question that not only does every horse get affected by what's going on with Storm and Normandy, he ends up pretty much getting eased in this race, and others are taken out of the race. But Jose Lescano, who rode the winner Love Abroad here, really deserves a lot of credit because he got his horse right to the inside in a contending position. And when Storm and Normandy took these other horses basically out of the race in here, Love Abroad was in a very enviable position of being able to take advantage of it. He's not even really running here per se, and he's just cruising up to the lead. And with an advantage like that, and look, he's a nice horse, but Lescano deserves a lot of credit. This proves insurmountable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, well, you know what? There were two horses in the race that weren't affected by the trouble Storm of Normandy caused. Love Abroad and Ichabod Crane. They finished 1-2 here. They were down inside. They saved ground. They weren't carried out in the middle of the track. Here you see Storm of Normandy towards the back of the pack is going to be eased fairly soon in here. But Love Abroad with that clear inside trip gets to Jose Lezcano gets to work here, and Love Abroad's got to hold off Golden Roses, who I thought ran, okay, considering that he was a little bit wide. But I thought that Love Abroad was best in here. The horse that was going to, be the main horse of consideration next time out of this race is Big Truck, because I thought he was the one that was perhaps most affected by it all. I just don't think Big Truck is that good. I thought he was good earlier in the season as a 3-year-old, but as of late, the last 4 or 5 months of 2008, I haven't been impressed.
Yeah, I have a feeling Overambitious Campaign may have caught up to him. They tried him on the turf. He's not a turf horse. I don't know where you go with Big Truck. I'm interested to see where Ichabod Crane goes. Now, obviously, he wasn't affected by the trouble. On the other hand, he was kind of green in the stretch. Maybe he needed the race. He's shown, obviously, finishing third in the Preakness this year. Not that it was the greatest race of all time, but he's got some ability. Good New York bred. An interesting race where the dynamics really are what decided the race, much more than anything else.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at our last race now of the segment. It's back to the turf. This was an allowance run on Sunday. It was the 9th race on Sunday, and we're going to take a look here at the number 9 horse, Rogue Victory, going out for our trainer George Weaver. Breaking from the outside, he's got some very distinguishable colors on, so you shouldn't have a problem following him throughout the race. But Rogue Victory doesn't break with the leaders in here, but I can't say that he broke bad. But Rogue Victory, why don't you take it over from this point?
Yeah, well, he breaks a step slow, but it's not really that. The pace was very honest here, but also, first of all, the first thing is he's never able to settle into a fair position. It's not particularly great sitting 3 or 4 wide as he is here outside in this position in a race. And even though the winner is really a horse not good enough to win, and he's running away from the field here, you get the feeling that Rogue Victory never gets himself in very good position. Now, he'll end up leaving the screen here, so we're actually going to forward to the far time of the turn. As he settles back here, he looks a little bit rank. But here we go as we're heading to around the 5/16 pole.
And getting back into the race, he was kind of off the screen a little bit there, but comes back into it. He's down inside now, and is going to have some running room, as we talked about in the first segment here. When you're inside, it could work out great. It could work out not so good. And for Rogue Victory, it's going to work out not so good here. He's going to be driving up into traffic. Looks like he's got some finish here. Always tough when they kind of cross over in that chute there where the rails open up a little bit there. But you can see Rogue Victory right here, nowhere to go, and just to steady hard underneath jockey Alan Garcia. This is a horse that showed some talent up at Saratoga. Won a maiden special weight up there. Ran 2 good races up there. I think this is a horse with a decent little future.
Yeah, I think he is a good horse too. Now, it'll show steadied out in the chart, but this is a horse that he was eliminated. Was he going to win the race? I don't know. Maybe he was. Would he have won with an overall pretty good trip? Yes, he would have. But you're going to have a horse that got beaten a lot in this race that obviously should have, at worst, finished much, much closer. He is a lot better, and he looks off this race. He has a couple of good races, and Rogue Victory is another horse that could well go down to Florida and win its next start.
He is trained by George Weaver. I'd expect him to go down there. And one thing about George Weaver that I've noticed throughout the year, he's a little streaky. When his horses are running well, they run well in bunches. When they're not running well, it seems like he can go for on an 0 for 20 streak. Remember, he was so good up at Saratoga where this horse ran good. So if George Weaver's hot and this horse shows up in the entries, I'd make a bet.
Yeah, it is funny because then he cooled down at Belmont. He's had some winners here the last couple of weeks. And I remember at Saratoga the previous summer that he didn't have a winner for almost the first 3 or 4 weeks. And then it feels like he won like 4 races in a matter of a few days and was the hottest guy on the ground. But I agree about Road Victory. I think the winner, the horse who dead heated in here, Yield Bogey, also ran well, and that he attended the pace and may have moved a little bit early. He was a sprinter stretching out, but Rogue Victory I think is the one that you want to try to make money with in the future.
Well, that does it for our second segment of Trips and Traps. Once again, Andy and myself wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching. Remember, keep those emails coming, tripsandtraps@NYRAinc.com. We try to get to all your emails. Andy, I know, answers all emails all day, and he's on the message boards all day. So if you have a suggestion, we'd love to take a look at it and see what you got. Thanks for watching. See you next week.